All right, guys. Our next guest is one of our favorites to chat to. He is a United States Army Ranger, a sniper, a Green Beret, was awarded the Bronze Star, has hunted Hitler, is one of the most dangerous men in the galaxy. ISIS fears him, women love him, and he's kind enough to join us back on the show, the equal parts deadly and funny Tim Kennedy. Welcome back to Submission Radio. It's been a while. How are you, Tim?
God, I love those intros. I think anytime I'm like low on confidence or kind of feeling down, I was hanging out with Charlie Brown. I just want to call in to Submission Radio so I can hear that intro again.
Yep.
Well, tell us, Tim, because we love having you on the program, and it's been a little bit of a while. We've seen you've been all over the world recently. Whereabouts are you joining us from at the moment?
Well, I got back to Austin, Texas about 2 days ago. First time I've been home in 4 months, 19 countries in 4 months, and I'm now in the beautiful, great Republic of Texas.
All right, awesome. I feel like your bed doesn't know you anymore. You come home and your bed is like, who's this guy? I don't know him anymore.
It gives me this really weird look, and then when you get kind of familiar with smells. When I get in bed, it like sniffs me, and it's like, get out. I don't know who you are, but you need to leave right now. It's weird. It's really weird.
Well, yeah, I mean, no wonder. You've been all over the world. You've been all in South America. We see on your Instagram you're in places like Paraguay, and you're even up in Nigeria, all over the world, really. And you're obviously filming the new season of Hunting Hitler. And we saw a story the other week, actually, where the location scout, a bit of a sad story, the location scout for the show Narcos was actually found in Mexico. His body was found in Mexico, riddled with bullets. And it sort of got us thinking, like, when you're doing this show, Hunting Hitler, and you're on location, all these other, random crazy countries, do you ever find yourself in danger? And do you have to sort of, defend yourself? Have you had those kinds of situations?
For sure. The Nazis kind of suck, and albeit there haven't been these kids walking down with tiki torches in the United States and like Charlottesville. They're just idiots that are pretending to be something that they have no idea what they are. Nazis killed 12 million Jews and then escaped throughout the world with hundreds of millions of dollars. And myself and a whole bunch of people that believe in justice go and try and find them. And they don't want to be found. Even their kids don't want to be found. Their grandkids don't want to be found. Which is ironic, especially when they have like swastikas and SS tattoos on their neck. But we've been in Chile and in Argentina and in southern Brazil, Uruguay, Paraguay, Austria, and they don't like us. I don't know why. Whatever.
Who doesn't like you? The South Americans?
Well, specifically the blue-eyed, blonde-haired second generations of a Nazi war criminal. They specifically. Now, man, I go down there, I start speaking Spanish, beautiful brown-haired Latino girl. They could care less while we're there. But it's just really a very small segment of the South American society that doesn't appreciate my affinity for justice.
And it's interesting as well because obviously the first, the show's been a hit. A lot of people really love watching it. So I'm guessing the word is sort of making its way around the, I suppose, hidden Nazi communities that you guys might be coming from. Have you noticed that now that the show is popular and more people are watching it, they sort of, I suppose, don't like you even more when they see you around those areas, sort of maybe even know who you are as you approach them because of the show's popularity?
No, 100%. Specifically in South America and Europe, the show, in the United States, the show is like number 3 or 4 for History Channel.
Wow.
I think a show Oak Island even beats us, which is kind of embarrassing. But worldwide, we're the number 1 show for the History Channel. We're in like 100-something countries in a few dozen languages. And so in South America, everybody knows who we are. Everybody watches the show, and it's called Searching for Hitler down there. And we have definitely made the rounds within the very small community. So we try to find legitimate, real evidence, and that is traded kind of on the black market. And there's a really small market for these assholes that want to collect this these memorabilia of Hitler and Nazis. And those are sometimes some of the groups that we're trying to crack into, but now they all know us. So, the third and final season's coming out next month, and it's going to be the biggest and greatest thing that we've ever done. We found more stuff. We did more things, more people trying to hurt us. And but the truth cannot be suppressed.
Of course. I'm just wondering, when you mention all these, black markets and all these things that you go through, how do you guys manage to do that, especially with cameras following you around sometimes when they're trying to shoot the footage? Because I suppose that would be very difficult to stay, I suppose, hidden and trying to get these deals done, but you've got the lighting people, the camera guy behind you. And is the camera guy also trained in case something goes down?
Well, man, I think you're really underestimating my sneakiness. I am a really, really sneaky guy. I realize I'm built like a troll. I have hair on my hands. I have a Cro-Magnon man forehead. I'm probably a couple of generations removed from a tree. But even gorillas can be sneaky.
Wow. All right. Well, we're learning something about Tim Kennedy. We always know you're a solid, thick guy, but now you got sneakiness added to the arsenal. Here's one thing that I've wanted to ask you for a while, Tim. You've obviously, you're a guy, you've egged ISIS on in the past. You don't exactly avoid combat. And in general, you sort of
they're
seem...
a bunch of pussies, so it doesn't really matter.
Right. Well, okay, yeah. So to you, they're pussies. I mean, I would be pretty scared, if they rocked up to my house. But you're kind of like, hey, I'm Tim Kennedy. Come down here, and we can, have some fun. And you seem like sort of an adrenaline junkie. When you're in a situation that looks like it might get dangerous, is there a part of you that gets excited? Are you kind of hoping that it does, and you get to use your skills? Like, do you enjoy that aspect, or are you kind of hoping that, you don't have to resort to defending yourself?
It's been a really long time since somebody looked at me and, all 220 pounds of Irish, red-haired, armed Cro-Magnon man, probably signs of early pattern baldness coming in, and been like, that's the guy I want to pick a fight with. That guy. That guy looks like he'll be an easy fight. It's been like a couple of decades. And wow. even when I'm walking into a bar and the dude has an SS tattoo on his neck and his buddy sitting next to him has, swastika on his forearm, and I walk up, I'm like, hey, dick bags, what's going on? So I really hate your grandpa, and I would mind if you take a few minutes and talk to me and my friends, all of which have cameras, about how bad your grandpa sucked. Sometimes it elicits emotional response out of them, but for some reason they never go full idiot. They never go like, all right, there's a bunch of words exchanged, but they still never take the leap off the plank. Which is always disappointing to me. Not that I'm a shark. I'm not saying like I'm a great white swimming through the waters of Nazism, but maybe I just want to take a little nibble, like a little chomp.
Yeah.
Not Jaws-like, but maybe like a barracuda, like a little bite in Florida.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest weapons and skills you have, Tim, that we don't really talk about is the fact you're a charming man. And I think the charming skills also get you through a lot of these situations. But curious, I mean, through all the stuff that you've put up about ISIS and coming down if they have a problem, have you ever had any close calls? Have you seen anyone from ISIS actually take you up on your offer recently since you've been putting up the stuff on social media?
Well, so the FBI keeps on getting pretty pissed at me, which means I think I'm doing a decent job. If the FBI so they have abandoned calling me because they realize that I don't care. So then they try to call my wife, and they're like, hey, somebody is actively trying to recruit somebody in Central Texas to come and find you guys. And she's like, oh man, I think Tim's going to post his location tomorrow at his gym and probably maybe even invite him. So they don't even know what to do with the Kennedy household as a whole. I think some of the closest calls I have had, there's a huge immigration problem in Europe right now, a lot of which are radicalized fanatics that are moving into low reproduction countries that need immigrants to sustain their existence. Germany, France, are two really great examples. And, so their kind of reproductive rate they need is like 2.1, 2.2, and they're averaging like a 1.6 or 1.7. So their chancellors and presidents are like, oh yeah, bring everybody up, whether it's from the Middle East or from North Africa, which is a really brilliant idea. So you can completely lose your culture, which is about to happen. So with this group, if you look at kind of statistics, everybody says if you bring in, let's say 100 people from northern Iraq, southeastern Syria, you're going to get somewhere between 10 and 20% of those people being radicalized. And that is not in dispute. So they're bringing in millions of people, so you can imagine the number of radicalized fanatics that are coming in with the regular immigrants that are kind of just looking for a great place to live. And Germany is a great place, as is France. The problem is that those kind of larger percentages of people are then marginalized by the more outspoken, more aggressive, more fanatical groups that are being radicalized, looking for an opportunity to conduct jihad wherever they are. So I was in Germany, in Berlin, and I was wearing a shirt that had this really cool Arabic symbol for the letter N. And ISIS at the time was kind of going around, and if they found people that they didn't like, they would paint that letter on people's doors. And it was a symbol for Nazarene. Kind of like how, here we are back to the Nazis. Remember the Nazis used to make Jews wear like the gold star, and they'd write like Judea on the door frame of a Jew-owned business so that people wouldn't go inside of it. Mm-hmm. It was kind of like the same approach, but it's now just 75 years later and people are still doing it. So a lot of barrel-chested freedom fighters kind of latched onto the idea of, okay, if you're going to paint this on doors of people that you're going to come back and try to kill, rape, and murder, we're just going to put it on our own door. And then we're going to put it on shirts, and then we're going to put it on hats, and then we're going to walk around and try to encourage and entice you to have the balls to not kick in a door of a 60-year-old woman that's living by herself, or a single mother with her child, or all the other pathetic, impudent things that ISIS do. Instead, like it's on Tim Kennedy. And so I was walking around in Berlin, and this group of guys saw my shirt, and they realized the intent of why I was wearing it. They followed me onto the subway, and they followed me off the subway onto an L. And then I was, it was super obvious because they're not very clever. What was, they're looking for an opportunity where there's just kind of us and them. So I got off near kind of the Berlin Wall, downtown tourist area, and they got off with me. And we're in front of a restaurant, and they were kind of getting closer. I stopped, I turned around, and I just kind of confronted them. And there was a language barrier, which was really unfortunate because I was saying some things I thought was super, super clever. But again, they had these tiny little testicles that just couldn't get the guts, the moxie, the intestinal fortitude, we call it in the military, to step up and actually do something. So the three of them kind of just cowered after I got in their face, and they smelled bad too. They really need to work on their personal hygiene. And then they walked away like the scurry little cowards and cockroaches that they are. And I, yet again, was left blue-balled and disappointed. Story of my life.
You just can't get your release, Tim. I almost feel for you. I'm wondering, like, it obviously, every time we go onto Instagram, every time we go see on your Twitter, like, you're having tons of fun, you're doing cool shit, you're shooting guns, you're filming TV shows, you're scaring ISIS, teaching seminars, you're traveling the world. Do you miss MMA at all? Because it almost looks like you're having more fun in retirement.
Oh, no. I miss MMA zero. My brain misses MMA like zilch, nada, like not a bit, not even like a scooch, like a scrape. What is it? The pepper and salt guy that would like salt his steaks off his forearm, like Salt Bay. What's his name? You know what I'm talking about? Yeah,
the Turkish guy. I only know him as Salt Bay. I don't know his actual name.
Yeah, whatever his name is. I'm not even talking like a grain of salt was released from his forearm and bounced onto that piece of meat. And not even that much. That's how much I miss him. So I still train. I still train. Today I trained 3 times. Yesterday I trained 3 times. Tomorrow I'm going to train 2 times. Ben Askren was in town, and he's getting ready for a fight, so I got to help him yesterday. We wrestled for like 20 minutes, which sucks because he's kind of a good wrestler. And so, man, no, I don't miss it at all.
Of course, the cliche question here, Tim, is, well, you don't really miss it, but do you think there's going to be an opportunity that you might miss it one day in the future and we might see you make possibly a comeback for two more fights?
I mean, it really does chap my hide that Michael Bisping's the champion.
Yeah.
And, it's like a burr that you just can't get out, like a splinter that's underneath your fingernail and you just can't get to it. Or, like when you get a whiff of something, like you scratch something with your finger and then you smell it and you're like, oh man, that stunk. But then you smell it again.
Yeah.
That's what it's like with Michael Bisping being the champion, where it's irritating and it kind of stinks and it kind of hurts, but not in a way like you have chlamydia for a year, more like just a UTI the next day. So I don't know what I'm going to do about that guy. He's fighting George St. Pierre. He's been retired for 13 years or something, and then he fought like a 50-year-old man before that. I can't even keep track of the nonsensical title defenses that he's had. He hasn't fought a contender yet since he beat Luke Rockhold, which was fantastic. I don't want to take that from him because that was brilliant. But man, Michael Bisping's the champion right now. I just can't say that out loud without cringing.
I think a lot of people have sort of been frustrated with what's been going on over the last, almost year or so with the middleweight division. I imagine it'd be frustrating for you as well, but I'm just wondering, I wanted to pick your brain. 217's coming up, GSP versus Bisping. I'm curious, did you ever train with GSP back in Jackson Winklejohns, and what do you remember from those trainings if you guys did train together?
Dude, guy's legit. He's really good. He's kind of good at everything. He's a talented athlete. He's an amazing wrestler. He's a great boxer. His jiu-jitsu's sick. His conditioning's good. He has the singularity, the singular focus that very few athletes have, especially in this sport. I guess the Usain Bolts are just so talented and so good at running. They just want to get good at running. But MMA, you have to be good at so many different things, and then you have hit and runs when you got coke and cash in your car, and then you're doing some marijuana and getting hit for that, and then Chael Sonnen's yelling at you, and then Fedor loses to somebody you can't even, it's it's super distracting. That's the sport of MMA. And then all of a sudden in Japan they do a WWE fight with no rules, and somebody's wearing a clown mask and you just don't even know what's going on. But GSP is focused, and he's always been that way. And he's always been such a superb, disciplined guy that even with his long layout, with the late layoff, he's still GSP, And so I don't know.
Do you think he can beat Bisping? Do you think who do you think in this matchup has the advantage? Because obviously you know a lot about Bisping. Do you think there's a chance that he retains his title here, or are you backing GSP here in his middleweight debut?
This is a tough middleweight debut. Bisping is deceiving, even though he looks like he's built like a tall, chubby girl. He is deceivingly strong, but not like the athletic, explosive Yoel Romero strong that can't get off a stool, but more like the strong that is just kind of grinding. There's this just permanent presence when you grab him in a takedown. He's hard to struggle down, and when you get him down, it's hard to keep him there. He hits like he has pillows on his fists, but he hits you so many times that you're like, oh man, this sucks. So for GSP, it's going to be hard to score takedowns. I don't think he's good enough to outbox or outkickbox him. So stylistically, it's a problematic fight for GSP, and then you add in the weight. And the long layoff, it's a scary fight for GSP to come back.
It's a really tough one. Tim, there's one more thing we got to cover with you, obviously, while we're talking about MMA, and that is, of course, the MMAAA, the MMA Athletes Association. Obviously, something huge last year, and you were, in many ways, the face of it. Can you tell us, what is the latest? Is it still going forward? Because we haven't heard any updates in quite a while.
Yeah, we're perseverant, resilient.
So it's
And
still going on, because I think a lot of people thought maybe it's sort of done. It's still going.
it's still going, and it's, as you can imagine, especially dealing with IMG and UFC and Dana. It's not just an easy thing that just happens. So we are struggling through the process and doing all the right things and trying to make all of the right decisions. And man, they're hard.
Do you guys? Sorry to cut in there, Dennis. Do you feel like you guys are at least getting somewhere? Because it seems like it's sort of an uphill battle. But do you feel like you guys are making progress?
It's always been an uphill battle, and we are. The need is there. Like I just read an article this week about how we're at a point where maybe fighters and athletes don't even need managers. And I think Ben Folks wrote it, and that scares the crap out of me. Where we're at a point where athletes are so completely controlled and their income is so dictated to them that they don't even need representation anymore. They are just at the whims of the promotion, and that is frightening. That you can't really have sponsors anymore in the cage unless it's UFC sponsor, and they're taking 90% of the revenue. And the money that you're going to make in the fight is going to be dictated. There's no negotiation unless you have some amazing card up your sleeve like Connor that has a trick every time. But it's scary, man. I don't know. It needs to happen, and it has to happen. And but man, it is a fight.
Of course, yeah, and it's super difficult. And you're obviously a very, very busy guy. You're traveling all over the world. Have you been able to speak to anyone else in the association? And do you know when we might hear an update in the near future?
So I talked to, as you can imagine, hundreds of athletes contact me. That seems like every month. And with like a pleading, imploring, like what is happening? How can this move forward? And it's not just as simple as, okay, we have the majority of the roster signed to us, so this is what we're going to do. It's not that simple. It takes, just the strategic planning of making one press announcement, because if you say one wrong thing, everything can be lost. And the thing that can be lost is an opportunity for these athletes to be protected. So it's a big thing.
And you mentioned the amount of people contacting you. I remember when we were in New York and this whole thing was happening and you were taking phone calls then. We imagine, that must be a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails. If you had to look at a percentage of the UFC roster, what percentage do you think has signed up to the association thus far?
I think 60% of the roster is directly talking to us.
Wow. Well, that's great. And I mean, I know you mentioned that getting the next update, you got to do it right because you don't want to say the wrong thing and, cost a lot of these athletes an opportunity. Does that have anything to do with when you guys first made the announcement and the negativity with Bjorn Rebney being a part of it and that sort of taking away from the fact that you guys made the announcement? Is that why you guys are a lot more careful about putting together the next sort of update, make sure everything is planned out perfectly before it's made?
Absolutely. The first update was, or the first announcement was with the best intention, but poorly thought through. And we took a lot of hits for how we did it, where we did it, when we did it, who was part of it, and those are mistakes we can't afford to make.
All right, well, Tim, we really appreciate your time. We don't want to be too greedy, and I feel like we already have been. As we let you go, is there anything that you want to get out there? Not necessarily an announcement, but is there while you've got the platform, is there any message that you want to send to the fighters while you're sort of, fighting this battle?
You're not alone. There are hundreds of other people like you that are struggling both economically and physically. And that there's people like me that have your best interest in mind, and we're trying to figure out, what the best solution is. And I'm not one that just kind of quits, so I'm gonna just keep working at it.
All right, well, there you go, guys. It's great to hear that, obviously, the battle is still going on, and we wish you nothing but the best, obviously, for the fighters, for the sport of MMA. Guys, don't forget to follow him on Twitter, at Instagram, at Tim Kennedy MMA. A lot of great stuff, a lot of great videos, a lot of great action. Tim, we honestly could speak to you all day, and I feel like we're always greedy with your time, so we really appreciate you coming back on the show, and, yeah, thank you so much. I'm sure we'll chat soon.
Anytime.